Welcome to the German language distance learning program for beginners. This is a joint program conducted by the Indira Gandhi National Open University in collaboration with Max Müller Bhavan, the German Cultural Center in India. Herzlich willkommen zum Fernkurs Deutsch als Fremdsprache für Anfänger. Ein gemeinsames Programm zwischen der Indira Gandhi National Open University und dem Goethe-Institut Max Müller Bhavan, dem Deutschen Kulturzentrum in Indien.
You're listening to Radio D, the radio language course of Redaktion D. A joint project of the Goethe Institute and Deutsche Welle Radio. The author is Herat Mese.
And a warm welcome to episode 10 of your German language course, Radio D. You may remember how the journalist Philip got stuck in a motorway traffic jam with some other tourists. He was travelling by bus to a musical about the life and death of the Bavarian King Ludwig II. Well, every tale back has to end sometime, and so the bus eventually does get to the theatre. Philip goes first into a restaurant that belongs to it, and he meets a man there whom he knows quite well already.
Hallo, liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer.
Willkommen
bei Radio D.
Radio D.
Die Reportage.
Listen to what Philip finds out only now. And what does he ask the man?
Ich habe Hunger, einen Riesenhunger.
Das Musical ist wirklich wunderbar.
Ja klar, ich spiele ja König Ludwig.
Nein, das glaube ich nicht. Die Stimme. Natürlich. Ich kenne die Stimme. Das ist doch... Entschuldigung, ich bin Redakteur bei Radio D. Bekomme ich ein Interview?
Na gut.
Danke. Erstmal Grüß Gott, König Ludwig.
Majestät, bitte.
Grüß Gott, Majestät. Guten Appetit, Majestät.
Ach bitte, ich bin nicht König Ludwig. Ich bin nicht Ihre Majestät. Ich bin Schauspieler.
Ich weiß, Majestät. Prost.
Philip introduces himself as a reporter from Radio D, and he asks the man for an interview.
Entschuldigung, ich bin Redakteur bei Radio D. Bekomme ich ein Interview?
And this is how it happened. Philip goes into the restaurant because he's hungry, very hungry. As hungry as a giant, in fact.
Ich habe Hunger, einen Riesenhunger.
In the restaurant, he hears someone at the next table say that the musical is wonderful. And then someone else has the audacity to say that it's got to be wonderful because he plays King Ludwig. Pretty full of himself, isn't he?
Ja klar, ich spiele ja König Ludwig.
And now the penny drops with Philip like it did with Paula. He realises that the man in the castle was the actor playing King Ludwig. You, of course, listeners, already know that. But Philip responds differently from Paula, who was very cross with herself for not having twigged earlier. Philip and the actor keep on playing the game. First, Philip addresses him as King Ludwig, who then insists he be addressed as Majesty. But in the end, he explains that he's neither Ludwig nor a Majesty and admits that he's an actor.
Ach bitte, ich bin nicht König Ludwig. Ich bin nicht Ihre Majestät. Ich bin Schauspieler.
And Philip raises a glass with His Majesty.
Ich weiß, Majestät. Prost!
So now both Radio D journalists, Paula and Philip, know what really went on inside the castle. But neither knows that the other one knows. Maybe their colleague Ayhan will also understand sometime. Anyway, as fast as he can, Philip heads back to the Radio D Current Affairs office in Berlin. He'll meet a surprise visitor there, an uninvited visitor, but you already know the voice. Listen to what happens in the office. How do the reporters respond to the guest?
Hallo Paula. Stell dir vor, der Mann im Schloss
ist Schauspieler.
Wie bitte? Wer ist das denn?
Eine Eule. Das siehst du doch.
Und was macht die Eule hier?
Das weiß ich nicht.
Sag mal, wo bin ich hier? Bin ich bei Radio D oder im Zoo?
Hallo, was machst du hier? Wie heißt du?
Eule.
Du bist eine Eule. Okay, aber wie heißt du? Na gut, du heißt ab jetzt Eulalia, okay? Und woher kommst du?
Ich sage nur von König Ludwig.
Well, are we going to believe the owl? King Ludwig loved swans, but I don't know anything about owls. The owl must have been in the castle somewhere and then flown unnoticed with Paula to the Radio D office. But we were going to work on the response of the reporters. Let's listen again more closely. When Philip hears the voice of the owl and sees it flying about, he asks who that is. And because Paula is naturally also puzzled, she answers rather cheekily, "Don't you know an owl when you see one?"
Wie bitte? Wer ist das denn?
Eine Eule. Das siehst du doch.
And a cheeky answer, of course, prompts a cheeky response. Philip's irritated and he asks Paula back whether he's at Radio D or in the zoo.
Sag mal, wo bin ich hier? Bin ich bei Radio D oder im Zoo?
Ayhan, though, doesn't seem to be in the least put off by an owl in the office, nor by the fact that it talks. But maybe he's just feigning indifference. Anyway, he asks it straight out what it's doing in their office, and when it doesn't answer, he asks it for its name.
Hallo, was machst du hier? Wie heißt du?
Eule.
Du bist eine Eule. Okay, aber wie heißt du?
And because the owl is nameless, Ayhan invents a fantasy name for it, Eulalia, because he likes the sound of it. And it also sounds a bit like the German word for owl, Eule.
Na gut, du heißt ab jetzt Eulalia, okay?
The three journalists reacted quite differently. Philip is a bit irritated, Ayhan is amused, and what about Paula? Have you noticed that she only acknowledges that there's an owl in the office, but otherwise conspicuously holds back? Maybe she senses that from now on Eulalia is going to be around her quite a lot. Well, it's evening now, and it's time for Josefina to clean the Radio D Current Affairs room. You can imagine her surprise when she finds an owl in there. Have a listen to the scene. What do you think Josefina excuses herself for?
Hilfe! Wer ist das denn? Eulalia. Was macht die Eule hier?
Sie ist einfach hier.
Bin ich bei Radio D oder im Zoo?
Störe ich?
Oh, Entschuldigung, du verstehst alles?
Ich bin klug und weise.
Und ich bin Josephine.
Realizing that Eulalia can not only speak but apparently understands everything too, Josephine excuses herself.
Oh, Entschuldigung, du verstehst alles?
Eulalia's question as to whether she's bothering anyone shows Josephine that she understands everything.
Störe ich?
And Eulalia doesn't miss an opportunity to point out that she's both smart and wise.
Ich bin klug und weise.
So, is this the start of a beautiful friendship? Well, we can't know that just yet, and probably neither can the two of them. So, let's leave them to it and listen instead to what the professor has to tell us.
Und nun kommt unser Professor.
Radio D.
Gespräch über Sprache.
Hello again. A talking owl in a newsroom, that is a bit puzzling, of course, and so Paula can't answer Philip's question. Let's hear again how she answered him.
Und was macht die Eule hier?
Das weiß ich nicht.
We're dealing here with the negation word not, nicht.
That's it. Please listen for the word nicht, which in German follows the verb. Das weiß ich nicht. I don't know.
Das weiß ich nicht.
When Philip hears the voice of the actor, he's incredulous. Nein, das glaube ich nicht. Nicht, as always, follows the verb.
Nein, das glaube ich nicht.
Okay, so nicht follows verbs, but it's not always at the end of a sentence, is it?
I didn't say it was.
Oh.
There are complements that follow nicht. Here are two examples.
Philipp ist nicht da.
Ich bin nicht König Ludwig.
And is there some kind of rule about that?
There is, but I don't want to go into detail. I'd only like to say for the time being the following. Accusative complements such as das or Stimme always come before the word nicht.
Das weiß ich nicht.
Ich kenne die Stimme nicht.
Oh, thanks for that, Professor.
It was my pleasure.
And before we go, you can hear again how the owl got its name.
Hallo Paula. Stell dir vor, der Mann im Schloss
Ist Schauspieler.
Wie bitte? Wer ist das denn?
Eine Eule. Das siehst du doch.
Und was macht die Eule hier?
Das weiß ich nicht.
Sag mal, wo bin ich hier? Bin ich bei Radio D oder im Zoo?
Hallo. Was machst du hier? Wie heißt du?
Eule.
Du bist eine Eule. Okay, aber wie heißt du? Na gut, du heißt ab jetzt Eulalia, okay? Und woher kommst du?
Ich sage nur von König Ludwig.
Well, in the next episode, Josephine gets a bit chummier with Eulalia, and you'll learn some more about the meaning of her name.
Liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer, Bis zum nächsten Mal.
You've been listening to Radio D, a German course of the Goethe Institute and Deutsche Welle Radio.
Besten Dank, dass Sie unseren Deutschkurs für Anfänger eingeschaltet haben. Detaillierte Informationen über den Kurs bekommen Sie im Studienzentrum, Regionalzentrum und im Max-Müller-Bhavan. Thank you for tuning in to our German language program for beginners. Detailed information regarding this program is available at your study center, regional center and at the Max-Müller-Bhavan.